Brenda.
Hi, how are you? Good to see you.
Roll call. Barry. McLaughlin.
Here.
Demora. Clement.
Here. Sorry for that.
Rodriguez. Shea.
Here.
Baxter.
Here.
McFeeters.
Here.
Cruz. Here. Ash. Grant.
Here.
Legal counsel.
Here.
Okay, approval of the prior minutes. Approval for the meeting of May 30th, 2024.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of May 30th and June, well, should they be officially?
You can lump them.
Motion?
You can
Lump
lump
them? So May 30th and June 20th.
Motion to accept.
Barry,
We can do a roll, just a all in favor.
Yeah.
all in favor?
Aye. Opposed?
All opposed? Ayes have it. Public comment, we have Pat Ford.
Excuse me. Again, for the record, my name is Pat Ford. My legal address is 42 Oriental Street in Providence, Rhode Island, and I represent an organization called the Coalition Radio Network. A couple points. First of all, I have to cite the issue with regard to the schedule in this meeting. The most prominent part of this agenda is a discussion of the school committee with regard to building and construction. What's happening right now, literally as we speak? A school committee meeting. The question begs, how is it possible to have an educated conversation about any of the pertinent issues here if, in fact, you simply can't have a representative of the school committee here? Now, this is my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is this meeting was scheduled a long time ago. So why this body continues to schedule meetings that are in direct conflict with what some, if they were cynical, might say is the body, which is the sole purpose for which this body was convened, that is to take back political control of the school committee. Why would you consistently do that? If I was a cynical person, I would argue that it's a political ploy by the third floor, the mayor, in order to achieve his political gain, which is to take control of the school committee. Because the school committee in recent times has failed to give him their surplus for the operation of the city. That's the first point. The second point, folks should know that, according to my contacts and my sources, the city decided to arbitrarily, and some would say capriciously, close the school's fiscal year nearly 2 weeks before the close of the fiscal year, and summarily closed out, without apparently any audit trail as of a day or so ago, all sorts of approved purchase orders. How is that possible? I had this conversation with a number of folks at RIDE, at the state level, the state house, and they were just sort of baffled. I had this conversation with other members of school committees in other parts of the state. They were baffled. They'd never heard of anything like that before. And then, allegedly, I tried to reach out, allegedly the CFO of the city then went on vacation. My real beef today, this is my pop quiz of the week. Besides the two gentlemen here who are sitting or have been sitting in the legislature or work in the legislature, can anyone tell me what Rhode Island General Law 16-2-9 stands for? I'll assume not. Title 16 Education, I'll read this briefly. Title 16 Education, Chapter 2, School Committees and Superintendents, the Rhode Island Board of Education Act. Rhode Island General Law 16-2-9. General powers and duties of school committee. A, unless the responsibility is otherwise delegated by this chapter, the entire care, control, and management of all public school interests of the several cities and towns shall be vested in the school committee of the several cities and towns. School committees shall have, in addition to those enumerated in this title, the following powers and duties. 1, to identify educational needs in the community. 2, to develop education policies to meet the needs of the community. 3, to provide for and ensure the implementation of federal and state laws, the regulations of Council on Elementary and Secondary Education, and local school policies, programs, and directives. 4, to provide for the evaluation of the performance of the school system. 5, to have the responsibility for the care and control of local schools. 6, to have overall policy responsibility for the employment and discipline of school department personnel. 7, to approve a master plan defining goals and objectives of the school system. These goals and objectives shall be expressed in terms of what men and women should know and be able to do as a result of their educational experience. The committee shall periodically evaluate the efforts and results of education in light of these objectives. 8, to provide for the location, care, control, and management of school facilities and equipment. 9, to adopt a school budget to submit to the local appropriating authority. 10, to adopt any changes in the school budget during the course of the school year. 11, to approve expenditures in the absence of a budget consistent with state law. 12, to employ a superintendent of the schools and assign any compensation and other terms and conditions as the school committee and superintendent shall agree, provided that no events shall the term of employment of the superintendent exceed 3 years. Nothing contained in this chapter shall be construed as invalidating or repairing a contract of a school committee with a school superintendent in force. To establish minimum, number 14, to establish minimum standards for personnel, to adopt personnel policies, and to approve a table of organizations. 15, to establish standards for the evaluation of personnel. 16, to establish standards for the conduct in the schools and for disciplinary actions. 17, to hear appeals from disciplinary actions. 18, to enter into contracts, provided, however, that notwithstanding any other provision of the general or public law, whether or specific of general application, notwithstanding the provisions of any charter of any municipality where the school committee is appointed and not elected, but not including the Central Falls School Committee, shall be vested in the chief executive officer of the municipality and not in the school committee. To publish policy manuals, to establish policies governing curriculum, to provide for transportation service, to make any reports to the Department of Education, to delegate consistent with law any responsibilities to the superintendent, to address the health and wellness of students, to establish a subcommittee of the school committee to decrease obesity and oppress school health. You know, I can go on and on and on. The bottom line is this. Largely, the town has absolutely no authority on the very issues that they want to talk about. And in doing so, and any attempt to do so will be challenged in court by independent bodies, hint, that any responsibility that any of the individual members of this body take in pursuing those will be addressed in terms of personal litigation. So my advice would be is that if you're going to discuss these issues, perhaps, just an idea, you might actually want to engage with the school committee, as opposed to the usual nonsense that happens at the city council where they all want to talk about being collaborative and then never show up for meetings. I don't know if anyone on this committee, who are obviously all highly accomplished professional individuals, and I mean that, have the expertise outside of perhaps 2 or 3 gentlemen who have served in governmental capacities to actually discuss any of these issues. And what's more concerning in closing here is that we are now just about in July. My understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the deadline for submitting to the city council any type of change to the charter, I believe, has to occur in August, if in fact it's going to be on the ballot for this year. So how, at this point, without engaging the school committee, without engaging anybody, without bringing on any expert witness, like last year, how can anyone think that a serious conversation can be had in this body at any level about anything to do with public education? So I would ask, respectfully, before it gets crazy, that folks walk away from this and actually engage in a long-term process which brings in people independent of the school committee and the city with expertise, who brings in the school committee, so that a frank and open conversation can be had about the issues, as opposed to this constant gamesmanship that takes place between the 3rd floor, as you folks refer to it, the mayor's office, and the political games, which are a distraction and potentially an expensive distraction. I've been doing this for a few years. I've been in politics for a long time. I have never seen the kind of hijinks, tomfoolery, skullduggery, whatever, that I see in this community on a regular basis. And if there was any level of accomplishment associated with it, okay. But the constant train of failure, the trail of tears that is in fact this administration, continues unabated. Whether it be your criminal justice, whether now it be your schools. Thank you.
Is there anyone online for public?
It was
Sue? Nope. It was just me and I'm good.
Okay, next, review the prior approval resolution for charter changes as transmitted to the city council.
So, Madam Chair, at the last council meeting, at the last meeting of this commission, there was discussion about whether or not the two issues that we had discussed prior at the, I think, the June 20th meeting, the changing the organizational date of the city council as well as the updating the small purchasing requirements had in fact been sent to the city council. I did find the resolution that was sent with the proposed language. It looks like, from what best I can tell, it was tabled by the city council. So those two things are still available for them, so there's really no need for us to go over them unless we wanted to change the language, but I didn't really see any need to change the language since it's already been discussed. So I leave that to the chief of staff and the clerk of the city council to figure out how they're going to, if and when the council is going to decide that. Mr. Ford was corrected. The local board of canvassers must certify any valid questions to the Secretary of State by August 5th. So that's the deadline.
That's up to the city council.
It's correct, it's not us,
Yeah,
correct, right.
okay.
So I just didn't want, we don't have to reinvent the wheel, it's already done, so.
Thank you.
And both of those. So that's all I have to report on that.
Okay, old businesses.
So I think we had on our agenda I already had a discussion at last meeting about updating the language to the city planning commission to allow for 2 alternate members, primarily because of this change in state law, which now requires the quorum to be a majority of those members present. And you have a 7-member committee by the charter. And so the current, right on the agenda, I thought it would be easier just to have it on the agenda. The current language is on the top, the proposed language is on the bottom. It basically adds 2 alternate members. I know that throughout your charter, you have a lot of references to 1954, which I assume is when the charter was initially adopted by the voters of the town. So I just tried to clean some of the language up and got rid of like the first Monday after 1954, because we're way past 1954, as best I can tell. So, but I don't know, I mean, a lot of cities and towns have, they like to see the history behind it, so I don't want to overstep my bounds. If you want to keep the 54 in, that's fine. I just thought it was not necessary language, but the only purpose of this language is really to just say, there'll be 2 alternates to the planning board, and they will serve 5-year terms, and they will be appointed by the mayor.
That was tabled the last meeting.
Yes.
It was, we had the actual language. And it looks like the appointments occur on the first January of each year, and they're staggered every five. So once a year, every member gets reappointed. So, once every 5 years. The beginning of every year in January, 1 member of the board gets reappointed for a 5-year term.
5 years, yeah. So it's always rotating.
It's right. It's a rotation.
So we're just adding 2 alternates.
2 alternates, right?
And this language makes it consistent within the state law, or.
State law has to do with quorums.
Right. So, but this helps
helps
address the quorum issue.
To get a quorum, yeah,
Got
exactly.
it.
Because you have a large, most city and town planning boards, there's 5 members with 2 alternates. You have 7 members, and now you have 2 alternates. But that was by the 1954 charter, it looks like.
Anyone have any legal questions?
Well, what do we need to do to enact this?
You can, more discussion on it, or you can just adopt it. I guess I can prepare a resolution for the next
Adopt,
meeting.
not enact, the city
Yeah.
council would be,
Right,
city
make a
council.
recommendation.
Would approve it and then.
Recommend it to the city council that they adopt it. And I don't know if it would be me to draft a resolution forward to them, or does the clerk do that, or Rick? How does that usually work?
Are the resolutions?
Yes.
Depends. Sometimes, I've done it, sometimes the attorney, when we had an attorney, the attorney did it.
Okay. I'm happy to do it.
And then the ballot questions as well.
Yeah, so I'll propose a ballot question, but this is just the preliminary language, and I'll come back next meeting and give you the resolution form, so you can look at it. You can adopt the particular resolution, and then, of course, the council can ignore it, change it, do whatever they want to do with it.
So can I make a motion to have council draft resolutions with the proposed language?
favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I'll bring back to the next meeting, thank you.
So, wait, who's second?
I did.
New business?
So this is considered something that did come from the mayor's office, where we had, Mr. Holt and I had a discussion regarding the mayor and city council role in oversight of the Rhode Island Department of Education approved school building projects. And under the state statute that which you heard read, the school department generally has complete control over school projects once they're authorized by RIDE. So there's a process that they go through. They submit a certificate of need, and then that gets approved by the school committee. Council signs off on it, and then they actually submit then they actually get a second passage. Oh, I can't remember the name of the term that they use, but there's another passage they go through. So the issue becomes, or one of the issues that has arisen apparently, is that there's really nothing. The regulations promulgated by the Rhode Island Department of Education sets up a building committee. I have those regulations. And the building committee is appointed by the school committee, which includes a member from the mayor's office or his committee. Sorry. Let's just tag this. Apologize. The regulations that are promulgated are pretty detailed, and they tell you if you're building a new school, how much space the different classrooms have and what you need to put. But the stage one is the necessity of school construction, which is submitted through the school department and signed off by the city council, and then there's a second. Stage. But anyway, excuse me, the school building committee must, at a minimum, consists of 8 people, including the superintendent of the schools, at least one member of the school committee, a local official responsible for building maintenance, a representative of the office or body authorized by law to construct school buildings in the municipality, a school principal from the subject school, a member who has knowledge of the educational mission and function of the facility, a local budget official or member of the local finance committee, and at least one member of the community with architectural, engineering, or construction experience. So that's the building committee that's set up by regulations.
That's state.
State regulations.
State regulations.
We're on the Department of Ed. Chris.
Everybody you mentioned in there, I was thinking in my head, you gotta have the certain
Right.
people that know what they're doing.
Right, so and that's the idea behind that is you have expert people who know about construction and can follow it along and whatnot.
100%.
The issue is, and apparently the bond that just was approved by Pawtucket voters had language written in it that basically,
The resolution from the council.
oh, sorry, the resolution from the council authorizing the bond, thank you for that.
The borrowing.
Had a provision in there, which was also passed by the legislature, that had a provision that actually put in very, I wouldn't say strict, but definitive reporting requirements of the school department to the mayor and to the city council, that they had to basically report on construction timelines, finances, change orders, those kind of things. That was,
Yeah, sorry, and this is data that they already report to RIDE on a monthly basis, so it wouldn't be a new thing, it would just be basically the report they share with RIDE, they would share with the city.
so,
If I may, Madam Chair, Mike, when you talk about the city council signing off, is that just a ministerial function, or?
no, they have to they actually have to authorize, if they didn't vote to approve the proposal, then it wouldn't go anywhere for
So
RIDE.
the authority with the city council then is to advise and provide its consent to the,
Necessity of school construction, right?
Okay.
If without that letter or support, I've never seen it happen, but I don't think RIDE would approve it, because if you don't have the city council behind it, because the city council and the administration, or the city council is the one who appropriates the money or the bond. So if the city council says, look, this might be a great idea, but we're not gonna bond this, or we don't have the money to bond it, RIDE is not gonna waste their time in going through the whole process that they have and approving it, so that's why they have a city council sign off.
So essentially, the city council already has this authority.
To say they can go forward, yes. But the issue is, once they go forward and a bond is floated and they say approved, then the reporting really cuts out the city council and the mayor's office. It all goes to RIDE. The committee, the building committee members that I just indicated to you, they report to RIDE.
But there was a provision within the resolution, I get, resolutions, we can, argue how binding they are once the bond is passed, but the resolution had specific language requiring that the city council be an updated, right, so.
In the bond document, right, the resolution that was passed, it said the bond must have this following provision, and they put in their language basically saying the reporting requirements that Ryan just mentioned.
But basically, this would codify that going forward, so.
Yeah.
All
So they don't have to
future.
put that language in.
Correct.
Right, and they would be by default.
Okay.
And it's really a reporting, it's not a control, it's not a mechanism, it's really a reporting requirement. So you're not taking any control under Title 16 away from anybody. You're just saying, hey, at least the mayor and the city council should be aware of a bond that we passed for school construction that we believe is supportive or is needed for our community, but they're the elected officials, they're not a appointed body from around the Department of Regulation. We should be informed of what's going on the school project. So it ensures that reporting would at least go to the mayor and the city council.
So as of now,
Clarify.
they're not going through the mayor's office or the legal counsel?
They're not reporting.
They're not-
They're not required to report, except for this bond that was just passed, right?
Right.
Does have that in it. So Ryan is suggesting that this was a special deal because of, not a special deal, but it was a special provision put in this bond. But as a policy, should such provision be in the charter, so any kind of construction regarding schools, so, require that automatic reporting go forward.
Is it reporting, it's a lot of things going on here that I'm trying to wrap my head around. Currently, the bond passed to build a new high school.
Correct.
Okay. In that bond, in that resolution, whatever you want to call it,
Yep.
there is a language that states that they have to report to us, correct?
To the
To the city council and the mayor.
Which was specific to that bond.
Just to that bond?
Correct.
So this is saying that we put in the charter, any new school construction moving forward,
Authorized by RIDE.
authorized by right, so it doesn't have to go into the specific bond.
Correct.
It has to be reported on.
Correct. So basically, whatever they're reporting to RIDE, they need to report to the mayor and report to the.
I was just in traffic for an hour, so I'm trying to.
You got it. That's a good question.
Yeah, sorry, and I just want to, sorry, Matt, I know we've got a chair. And I just also want to clarify that the city has representation on the committee that's authorized in the RIDE regulations.
Correct, as I
Okay,
mentioned.
and that's an on.
A finance person or whatever,
Finance person
yeah.
and other pieces, so, okay, thank you. Because the last time I was on this committee, we were talking about a major restructuring of school committee around some of these issues, and I think a number of us had some concerns, similar to what was raised in public comment about lack of feedback from the school committee. But what we're proposing here is slightly different. And
Yeah,
so,
it has nothing to do with the
it's-
makeup
yeah.
of the school committee.
Yeah,
This
so
has to
I'm
do with
feeling a little better about that, but wanted to make sure I
Is there
understand more.
is there a dollar value, or is it just anything that's approved by right?
Anything, any school construction, whether new construction or renovations, approved by RIDE,
Per bar?
would have to go.
Okay, yeah.
Would have this language
Even
in
if
it.
it's $10, approved by right?
But yeah, generally.
I understand.
Generally, it's usually $1 million or more, generally.
Yeah, sure.
And help me understand why there has to be a charter change and not an ordinance.
It'll be in the charter forever. An ordinance can be changed, and this is really, it's really just a way to codify it in a more permanent fashion. So saying that, because here's the other issue, I don't believe that an ordinance could, just like the reporting requirements is in a state statute now, in the bond that was passed by the legislature, I don't believe an ordinance could override the current regulations that we have now. So so that's why we're putting it
And
in.
a charter amendment could,
Because it's going to be, would be ratified by the General Assembly at some point,
Yeah.
hopefully, and that becomes, they call it a super law, basically.
okay.
Yeah, because like, the General Assembly can pass law, but if it runs counter to a city charter law, correct me if I'm wrong, like, city charter would take precedence over it. But for the fact that the General Assembly has to approve all charter changes, so it's essentially a General Assembly action as it is.
Gotcha.
Specific to Pawtucket, I think that's. So that's the intent behind it, and there's nothing, it's not about control, it's really just a reporting requirement. There's nothing that would take the power away from school building, away from RIDE, we couldn't do that anyway.
We'll
Which
just-
I think would benefit everyone with a better communication of the report going back to who needs to be involved, which is the city
And may
and the
I,
mayor.
Madam Chair, may I add, I've had the opportunity to discuss this proposal with a few members of the school committee. I haven't gotten to everybody yet. But so far, the folks I have spoken to have been receptive.
What is the frequency of the reporting? Is it weekly,
Monthly.
monthly?
So the RIDE regulations require, I think, monthly reports.
Monthly report, okay.
So whatever they give you in a RIDE, basically you're saying, give to the mayor, give to the city council.
For review.
For review, and it's just review. Of course, now, I'm assuming that if the city council, sees a change order for, $600,000, I'm making this up, not to this project, but that could give them pause, and they might say to the school committee or this building committee, well, what's this about? Why are we so over, why are we going $600,000 for a change order? It really is just a more transparent way of, because technically, this committee, under the RIDE regulations, has full authority. And they remain the full authority, but now this is sharing the information. I'm not saying that the mayor today couldn't go to the building committee, or the city council president couldn't go to the building committee and ask for these documents. They're public documents, but this would just codify it in a way that we expect these to get them. The mayor shouldn't have to ask for them. He's going to get them automatically. He goes to the city
Regular
council.
basis every
Right.
month, the reports coming in.
That's the idea behind it.
Anyone else have any questions on it, or?
Would we be able to, I guess maybe this is the motion, to request proposed language to be added to the charter?
So, yes, so I'm basically going to take the bond language that they've already passed and kind of just put it in a charter provision and figure out where it goes in the charter the best way, and then I'll give it back to you guys to
We
debate
table
again.
As a draft.
Conversation.
As a draft, yeah.
Well, no, so we can request like the actual
Actual
proposed
For him to
language.
write up the draft, that we can then vote on at the next
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah, we have-
So I'll make a formal motion to request the proposed changes as charter language in a resolution later on.
Yeah, I'll second
All in favor?
Can I just add a comment, and I'm glad to hear that you reached out to some members of the school committee. I'm wondering if we, out of courtesy, could also give them the proposed language for feedback and comment as well too, if there are no objections.
No objections.
I'll have to do that. And we're not going to have a meeting next week, but the week after, they can obviously come to the meeting if they have a concern.
That'd be great.
And just, so, sorry.
Go ahead.
Because I'm just looking at the calendar.
Okay.
And this is the second or third meeting that someone said something. Are we sure that on the 11th there's no school committee meeting?
I have no idea. I can't tell you.
Can we find out? Because if we're gonna allow them to say something.
This isn't, the school committee meets on Tuesdays, correct? And they do these work sessions on Thursday?
Yes.
Okay, once a month for each, correct?
I think that's why we chose Thursdays at the also.
This is a,
For us.
I mean.
Well, we also chose it because this room's only available so many times. Now, Rick could speak to that more than I could, but that was one of the other issues, is when do we have access to the conference?
It's also our availability.
And availability
of
of
this board,
Yeah.
volunteer
Right.
board. It's not incumbent on us to work around there.
No, I know, but I'm just,
No,
I would
fair-
just ask,
no, no,
because
fair enough.
I didn't know when they would meet, but it's
Fair
been
enough.
brought up, so I just try to look it up, and I can't find it, maybe it's my phone or the service, so I couldn't see when they're meeting, so I just wanted to make sure, if we're gonna give them the language to review, and give them the option to come and talk to us, then we should be sure that it's not when,
So I
Yeah,
believe,
that's
I believe their next meeting is a Tuesday, but I'll confirm that for you, before the next time you meet.
okay.
They
They
have
have
2 weeks, because we're not meeting next week.
And they can always submit
Send it to
their
engagement.
comments, yeah.
I think we can work on scheduling, but I agree we should at least try to accommodate if we can. If we can't, fine, you know, they have to
Yeah, we can always
submit
change
written
it.
comments, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, if they can appoint somebody from their
To
committee to
come,
come
yeah.
in and speak on their
Yeah.
behalf.
Yeah. Because, yeah, that's all I want.
And this is a good change. I can't see how anyone on the school committee would object to this because it's more transparency. It's rolled into the school.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we're looking at. This is, you know.
yeah, I reserve judgment until I see the final language, but I agree.
Good point, good point.
But I agree, I think this is a good compromise, so.
I think there's a motion on the floor. Cool.
Again, I think
second.
I moved to
so.
second.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Should they do a roll call?
If you want to do a roll call, that's fine, because this is, well, we didn't do it in the last one, the roll call will come on the
One of the
last.
resolutions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
All it is.
But
Barrett?
you didn't have to, I'm sorry.
No, we don't have to until we have.
Oh, until the actual language, it's up to you.
And that's what I figured we would do
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
final
Yeah.
language,
Yeah.
but, okay.
Which is one of the- yeah.
So all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. All right, so the next meeting is July 11th, I believe, at 6.
And I would form the committee in the event that
Yeah, so-
that's a conflict.
It's a conflict for me, I'm at the juvenile hearing board.
Okay.
I won't be here for 2 weeks.
So I don't know if there
What do
are,
we need for quorum?
We need 6 to,
We need to
So
take
action.
take action. It's actually 4 to 6.
Is there another night that week, the 9th to 10th?
I can do the 9th, I can do the 10th.
So the 10th is the city council, the 10th is the city
No,
council.
I am not coming to a meeting on Friday night.
No, I know.
I'm sorry.
Well,
The trader is going to Worcester to see a Worcester Red Sox game.
Well, I'm not going to see a Worcester Red Sox game either.
Oh, you don't know what you're missing. Great stadium.
If,
Never go.
I can come
We
anytime.
need one person to go on the 11th. I will
Very-
come, but I can't stay the whole meeting because we're leaving the next day.
Gotcha. The 10th is a city council meeting, so that.
so either the 8th or the 9th.
They could do the night.
Except that.
I'm not available on the 9th.
All right.
The Thursdays were really small for me.
So,
I
Sean,
think
is
that's all.
everyone, who,
I can do the 11th.
can you do the 11th?
Yes.
I can do the 11th. You can do the 11th?
Today I can. No, I'm saying yes, but
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
what about
No.
you, Tyler?
What is it, the 11th?
The
And
11th.
the regular,
The regular time? Yeah.
Yeah.
so we need one more.
Okay.
Or the chair, we got that.
You
Joe
still need one
tomorrow.
more.
check it out.
1, 2,
Joe.
3, 4, 5, 6.
6. Oh,
So
Yeah, you need
we'll,
6 to go, you need 6 to go.
so
6 to go.
So I'll pop in
Okay.
to
We
do a
will,
report.
we will only have that on the agenda.
Okay,
Mostly.
then, yeah, okay.
Because the
Can
other
we
two we
move the
spoke
time?
about is the city council changes, so it's up to them.
Correct.
Okay, very much.
Well,
So,
you're
yeah, you
gonna-
can, I can
Time?
come early.
Does that time work for everybody?
Six.
I'm only wondering because, yeah, like the juvenile hearing board is literally right in that room at 6.
Do you want to do 5:30?
5:30?
I can do 5:30.
I can't do it. I work in Quonset, and it takes me a full hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I work at 5.
How long are the juvenile hearing?
Ideally, they're probably like 30 minutes, but honestly, if I could, if you need me to pop in for, I'm already here, so I don't
Yeah.
want
Yeah,
to.
right, that's true.
Right, like if I'm, like, I can always pop in for a go. That's
Okay.
not an issue,
That would-
I just want to
that would
make
be
sure.
That we have a discussion on the language, so we know
Yeah.
what's happening with it,
Yeah.
and then.
Yeah, and I will try to get the language of the members of the
If we
commission.
can get it ahead of time,
Yeah,
so
I will.
everybody can
The only
read
thing I
it.
will warn you about, I don't want you talking amongst yourselves about the
So,
language.
yeah.
Just take it, review it yourselves, get back to me if you have any changes or questions about it, but you really can't be talking
So if
amongst
I-
yourselves about, oh, I don't like this or whatever.
Oh,
You know that as well. So, but yeah, I will get the language to you hopefully early next week, or maybe
Okay.
right after, early next week, so you can at least look at it. And then you'll have 2 weeks to digest it. And then it won't be in the formal resolution form, but it'll be in the language, at least the language.
Okay,
That's perfect, and then, yeah.
we'll pop in.
But I just, yeah,
Brian, before we
Yes.
leave today, are there any other topics that could possibly come before this commission, so we could do some research prior
So
that you might know of?
this would be the last one prior to
Okay.
ballot, and then you guys can take a little time,
Okay.
because you have, like, you don't have to do the whole, we're not on that time crunch anymore.
Yeah.
So if there are things that are interesting to you that you, or to any of you that you want brought up, like, let Mike know, let me know. But there will be others down the line. I'm
Down the line, sure.
But for
Talking about
the
this.
that's the last one that we
For
just
the
need to
time
decide whether or not you
That
want.
way, if we had information, we could come in maybe prepared
Yep.
and able to discuss
Yep.
and get right to business before.
So yeah, we'll get to a more, abbreviated schedule after,
Yeah.
after the
Once a
11th.
month.
Once the 11th is done, you can go to once a month or
Okay,
whatever.
whatever you want to do, sure. So yeah, that's, I was just curious.
Yeah,
about
so
that.
thank you, and I, thank you all for willing to serve.
I'm assuming at some point you might wanna go through, it's up to you, it's not up to me, like, each section of the charter. I mean, like, when I read it, actually over the weekend, there's like some typos that need to be fixed, some minor stuff, and then it's to the extent that there's like, policy changes or, structural changes that you wanna recommend, you can do it by article or section, but it's up to you.
I mean, I don't know if, to make a change, like to request a change, who do we just email
Do you know what?
and then we can put it on the agenda?
Sure.
Go through the
Like
chair,
a
whatever,
session.
Yeah, whatever.
Probably whatever, me or the chair, but the chair should really be deciding what's up.
Of course,
Yeah.
yeah.
Which
But-
is
but to
John
help
Barry.
direct us, right.
Or you.
What's going on with him?
Is he recovering from his, did he have surgery or is it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
But I think we've been screeching to get some of the easier stuff done.
Yeah, or the dead, time sensitive.
Yeah,
stuff.
time
Yeah,
sensitive.
So we can
Yeah.
get another
Yeah.
ballot for November.
Alright, I will send you like an email on what I think should be changed. And I will make a motion to adjourn if we're good.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye. All opposed?
Yeah, right?
Excuse me, give me one second.